LCD. LCD stands for Liquid Crystal Display, and these were the monitors that replaced those bulky CRT screens back in the early 2000s. The way LCD works is pretty fascinating. Inside the screen, there are millions of tiny liquid crystals sandwiched between two layers of glass. When electricity passes through these crystals, they twist and allow different amounts of light from the backlight to pass through. This creates the images you see on your screen. The big advantage of LCD was that it made monitors much thinner and lighter than CRT displays. You could actually fit them on normal desks without needing a reinforced table. They also consumed less power and didn't emit that annoying flickering that CRT monitors had. But LCD technology wasn't perfect. The viewing angles were pretty terrible at first. If you looked at the screen from the side, colors would shift and the image would look washed out. Response times were also slower, which made gaming feel sluggish. And because LCD panels needed a backlight that was always on, achieving true black was impossible. Even when displaying a black image, some light would still bleed through, making blacks look more like dark gray. TN. TN stands for Twisted Nematic, and this is the oldest and most basic type of LCD panel. TN panels became popular with gamers because they offered the fastest response times, usually around 1 to 5 milliseconds. This meant less motion blur and ghosting during fast-paced games. They were also the cheapest to manufacture, which made them perfect for budget monitors. But here's where TN panels fell short. The color accuracy was mediocre at best. Colors would shift dramatically when you viewed the screen from different angles. In fact, if you tilted your head slightly while looking at a TN panel, you'd notice the colors changing right in front of you. This made TN panels terrible for anything related to photo editing or graphic design. Despite these drawbacks, competitive gamers still preferred TN panels for years because that lightning-fast response time gave them a competitive edge. Even today, some esports professionals stick with TN technology. IPS. IPS stands for in-plane switching, and this technology solved the biggest problem with TN panels, which was those horrible viewing angles. With IPS, the liquid crystals are aligned differently, rotating parallel to the panel rather than twisting. This allows light to pass through more consistently, regardless of where you're sitting. The result is accurate colors that stay true, even when you're looking at the screen from extreme angles. This made IPS panels the go-to choice for photographers, video editors, and graphic designers who needed reliable color reproduction. IPS monitors could also display a wider range of colors compared to TN panels. But IPS technology came with trade-offs. Response times were slower, typically around 4 to 8 milliseconds. This wasn't a huge deal for everyday use, but competitive gamers noticed the difference. IPS panels were also more expensive to produce, and they suffered from something called IPS glow. This is where the corners of the screen would appear slightly brighter when viewing dark content in a dim room. Another issue was backlight bleed, where light would leak through the edges of the panel. VA. VA stands for vertical alignment, and this panel type tried to find a middle ground between TN and IPS. The liquid crystals in VA panels are aligned vertically when no voltage is applied, which blocks light almost completely. This gave VA panels the best contrast ratios of any LCD technology. When displaying black, VA panels could actually look black instead of that grayish color you'd see on IPS or TN. This made VA panels excellent for watching movies or playing single-player games with dark atmospheric scenes. VEA panels also had better viewing angles than TN, though not quite as good as IPS. The colors were decent, and the price point was reasonable. So what's the catch? Response times on VEA panels were the slowest, often ranging from 5 to 12 milliseconds. This caused noticeable ghosting and smearing during fast motion. If you moved your mouse cursor quickly across a dark background, you'd see a trail following it. This made VA panels less than ideal for competitive gaming, but for someone who wanted deep blacks and didn't care about lightning-fast response times, VA was a solid choice. OLED OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, and this technology changed everything. Instead of using a backlight like LCD panels, each pixel in an OLED display produces its own light. This means when a pixel needs to display black, it simply turns off completely. The result is perfect blacks and infinite contrast ratios. Colors on OLED displays are incredibly vibrant and accurate. Response times are nearly instantaneous, often less than 1 millisecond. Viewing angles are perfect from any direction. So OLED sounds like the ultimate display technology, right? Well, there's a significant problem called burn-in. Because each pixel generates its own light, pixels that display the same image for extended periods can degrade unevenly. If you leave a static image on your OLED screen for too long, like a taskbar or logo, that image can become permanently ghost-burned into the display. This made OLED monitors risky for anyone who keeps static elements on their screen all day. OLED monitors are also extremely expensive compared to LCD options. But for someone who wants the absolute best image quality and is willing to take precautions against burn-in, nothing else compares. QDOLED. QDOLED stands for Quantum Dot Organic Light Emitting Diode, and it's basically Samsung's attempt to make OLED even better. Regular OLED panels use organic materials that emit light in red, green, and blue, but QDOLED uses blue OLED emitters combined with quantum dot layers to produce red and green. This hybrid approach results in brighter colors and better efficiency compared to standard OLED. QD OLED monitors can reach higher peak brightness levels, making them more usable in bright rooms. They still deliver those perfect blacks and instant response times that OLED is known for. The viewing angles are flawless, and the color accuracy is outstanding. But QDOLED still suffers from the same burn-in risk as regular OLED. The technology is also incredibly expensive. You're looking at premium pricing that puts these monitors out of reach for most people. QDOLED is really for professionals or enthusiasts who demand the absolute best and have the budget to match. Mini LED. Mini LED isn't a new panel type, but rather an advanced backlighting technology used with LCD panels, typically IPS or VA. Traditional LCD monitors use a handful of backlight zones, maybe a dozen or so. Mini LED monitors use thousands of tiny LEDs as the backlight, which can be controlled in hundreds or even thousands of individual zones. This is called local dimming. When part of the screen needs to display black, the LEDs in that zone can dim or turn off completely. The result is much deeper blacks and better contrast than standard LCD monitors, though still not quite as perfect as OLED. Mini LED monitors don't have the burn-in issues that plague OLED displays. They can also get extremely bright, often exceeding 1,000 nits of peak brightness. This makes them excellent for HDR content. The downside is something called blooming or haloing. When a bright object appears on a dark background, you might see a slight glow around it because the dimming zones aren't small enough to be pixel perfect. Mini LED monitors are also more expensive than standard LCD monitors, though usually cheaper than OLED options. Micro LED. Micro LED is the technology everyone's excited about, even though it's barely available yet. Like OLED, Micro LED displays use self-emitting pixels, but instead of organic materials, they use microscopic inorganic LEDs. Each pixel is its own tiny LED. This gives you all the benefits of OLED, perfect blacks, infinite contrast, instant response times, but without the burn-in problem. Micro LED displays can also get much brighter than OLED, and they last longer since inorganic LEDs don't degrade the way organic ones do. So why isn't everyone using micro LED? Because the manufacturing process is incredibly complex and expensive. We're talking about placing millions of microscopic LEDs with perfect precision. Right now, micro LED displays are mostly limited to massive commercial installations or insanely expensive luxury TVs. Consumer micro LED monitors exist, but they cost more than a decent used car. Once the technology matures and manufacturing costs come down, micro-LED could become the ultimate display technology. But that's still years away. E-ink stands for electronic ink, and this technology works completely differently from everything we've discussed. Instead of using light-emitting pixels, e-ink displays use tiny microcapsules filled with black and white particles suspended in fluid. When an electric charge is applied, these particles move to the surface to form text or images. E-ink displays consume almost no power because they only use electricity when changing what's displayed. Once an image appears, it stays there without using any energy. This makes e-ink perfect for e-readers like the Kindle. You can read for weeks on a single charge. E-ink displays are also incredibly easy on the eyes because they reflect ambient light like paper instead of blasting light directly at your face. There's no screen glare in sunlight, but e-ink has severe limitations. Refresh rates are extremely slow, measured in seconds rather than milliseconds. Most e-ink displays only show grayscale, though color versions exist now with limited color range. You can't watch videos or play games on e-ink. It's purely for static content like reading documents or books. Some people use e-ink monitors as secondary displays for writing or coding because the eye comfort is unmatched. But it'll never replace a standard monitor for general computing.